Hello, everyone, and welcome to this exclusive IBT Thought Leadership session with Dr. Praloop Gupta, who is Associate Professor Services and Investment at the Center of WTO Studies, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi. Dr. Gupta has a PhD in Economics and Social Sciences from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. He's also a policy leader, fellow of the European University Institute Florence, and a certified fintech and regulatory innovation professional from University of Cambridge. Dr. Gupta has been a member of the Indian delegation for negotiating the RCEP and the India EFTA agreement. He has also been appointed as member of various task forces and committees by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and FICCI. Dr. Gupta has been actively engaged in providing training on international trade issues to delegates and diplomats from various countries, including ASEAN as well as LDCs. He's a prolific writer, and his articles on contemporary trade issues get published in international journals, books, and business newspapers regularly. He has recently edited a book titled E-Commerce in India, Economic and Legal Perspectives. Today, we will be discussing India's trade performance in the past few years, as well as the post-COVID-19 scenario with Dr. Gupta, there will be a special focus on services exports. And we would also like to know Dr. Gupta's views and suggestions for the upcoming foreign trade policy 2021-26. So hello, sir. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this session, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be on this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And to start with, I would like to know from you, what do you think have been the most transformational changes in the global trade environment over the duration of our previous foreign trade policy, which was 2015 to 21?
Two major changes during this period. One we all very well aware of is this COVID pandemic, which has affected every walk of life, whether it is economic, financial, political, or normal or health related. And the second, even before that, is the US-China trade war. Now, the difference between these two important changes in the global trade environment is that while the US-China trade war has affected us indirectly, because it was essentially between US and China, and our exports were affected because global sentiments were affected, the purchasing power globally were affected. So the effect was indirectly, not directly, and also because the kind of trade basket that China is exporting and India is exporting is different. But here in COVID, the effect is both direct and indirect. Direct in the sense because all the countries have literally put all different kind of restrictions, including lockdown. Then the income business has reduced, so purchasing power has also come down. So it has affected the direct as well as indirect exports from India. So these are the two important, I think, the major events that have occurred during the past 5 years.
Okay. And when you compare India's export performance, product and services with respect to peer exporting countries, how do you view our performance? How well have we done, or where do you feel we have scope for improvement?
In terms of services, we have done relatively better, though our growth in services in the last five years has moderated to some extent as compared to the previous years. But still, if we compare other like US or UK, Australia, Canada, and so in comparison to most of these economies, we have performed relatively well. If some economies like China, Ireland, Japan, they have performed well, better than us in some matter. But in general, our performance in services is better than most of the economies of the world. In terms of goods, again, we had performed a bit all right till 2018-19, but last year again, because of this pandemic, all our exports have dipped. Now we are hoping that there will be recovery, and there are countries like Vietnam which have shown remarkable improvement on the manufacturing export side. They have been a part of global value chains, and that has affected their income. But in terms of services, yes, that is we have done well, and that is also very much important, because if we see the trade performance globally, we have more than double the share in the global trade in services as compared to the merchandise trade. Our share in global services trade is around 3.5%. On the other hand, in the merchandise trade, it is only around 1.7%. So that way, services are very important. They have done well. But as I said previously, this time the situation is different, and more so as compared to the previous financial crisis, global financial crisis, because at that time, while the entire world was facing a crisis, then the services sector has helped India to pull the growth rate and to remain isolated from the global financial crisis. But this time, it is the services sector which is most affected by this global pandemic, whether it is aviation services or tourism services or logistics. So that way, the ability of Indian economy to sustain this crisis or to fight this crisis has come down significantly because of significant impact on the services sector.
Okay. So, what initiatives or announcements do you feel under the new FTP would help improve the competitiveness of our services industry or accelerate our performance? I remember we had talked in the past also about the need for diversifying beyond the ITES services sector. So, can you please elaborate on what do you think the government can do in this regard?
You're absolutely right. Most of our services exports are focused on software services exports, which are constituting more than 40% of our total services trade. And our services basket is relatively narrow. So one is that, of course, diversifying that export, and the essential mantra going forward to me is SQS. And what I mean by SQS is skilling, quality, and standards. So in the long term, we have to focus on these three issues, because now many new services are coming up in which we are lacking skilling. For example, like fintech. Going forward, financial services, most of the financial services will have more technology orientation. Now we have to have skill for those purposes. We have to have quality while offering various services like medical tourism. So it has to be with quality, particularly now more and more focus on hygiene after COVID pandemic. So quality has to be there. And then of course standards, because standards signify the quality of the product or services. So if we have certain global standards, or even if it is national standard and reliable national standards, so they signify a quality of that particular product or service to the consumer. So these three are very important. So in the long term, the focus has to improve on these three aspects and to have a mechanism on these three aspects. In the short term, because some of the sectors are very heavily affected in this pandemic, like tourism services or aviation services, so specific packages for these services sector may be announced, particularly because these services are very important from employment perspective also. Tourism services is a labor sensitive service sector having very high employment elasticity. So any growth, positive or negative, will affect employment in this sector very severely. So there is a need to uplift this sector, considering that now there are so many restrictions in India on with respect to tourism services sector. So that is one area where a specific package can be announced. Apart from that, in terms of the diversification, and I remember this was your earlier question also, we have comparative advantage, of course, in computer related services, but there are some other services where we have competitive advantage, or our advantage is increasing over time, like construction services or personal, cultural, and recreational services. So these are the kind of services, professional services. So these are the kind of services where we have competitive advantage, and if we have focused attention on these services, then we can have more exports as well as diversified basket of services exports.
Okay. Okay. Also, in the coming years, there is an expectation that new technologies like blockchain and AI will play a major role in global trade. So, how do you think India can better prepare its industry for these changes? And maybe if you want to talk from product or services or both perspective, you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. So one, I have already spoken that skilling. So focus has to be on skilling, because with new technology, whether it is blockchain or AI or Internet of Things, the kind of skilling required, the talent that we require, the curriculum that is required in our university and colleges, that need to be adopted to the current realities. So that is one thing. Of course, some of these issues may be out of the ambit of foreign trade policies, but these may be alluded in the foreign trade policy, so that the relevant policies may take care of these issues. So that is one issue, is skilling. The second issue is that this issue of this digital economy, or the issue of data, they are being dealt at various kind of policies in India. So there is one personal data protection bill, there is non-personal data protection, whose second report has just come out. Then there is also a draft e-commerce policy. Then maybe there may be some reference in the foreign trade policy also going forward. So it is very important that all these policies have a similar kind of view on important issues pertaining to digital economy. There has to be synchronization, like data transfer, data flows. Now, it is in our interest that there should be adequate restrictions on international data flows, or government should have flexibility to put the kind of restrictions it want to put on the data flows. Because if we want to nurture our digital setup, if we want to nurture our startups, then we require data. And now it's a very old, you can say, saying that data is the new oil, everyone knows. But the tendency of data is that it is actually different from oil, because oil is exhaustible. You consume oil and oil vanishes. But data is non-exhaustible. Data does not vanish. It remains with you, and more data you have, more power you have, more you can do, whether it is AI or anything. So therefore, when it comes to big tech industry, whether it is the tech giants or startup, there is a natural disadvantage between the two kind of companies. So now, how we nurture our digital talent, how we nurture our digital companies? By providing them adequate data, so that they can also come up and fight.
Okay. Okay, sir. The government has introduced programs like Atmanirbhar Bharat, PLI, and ODOP to boost domestic competitiveness and exports. How can the new FTP support these programs?
That's a very interesting question. In fact, that you have raised this question, and these programs are, I can say that very good initiative by Government of India, and of course ambitious initiatives also. But these initiatives require significant proactiveness on the state government, like ODOP, one district, one product scheme that you are talking about. So essentially, if you see at the state level, the awareness about exports or foreign trade is relatively less. Except a few states, most of the states, they are concerned mostly on the domestic economies, and foreign trade is, or the industry department there, is not much concerned about the foreign trade. So this is one area where more and more awareness and capacity building needs to be created. So in the foreign trade policy, the specific or special emphasis should be there to create this awareness and capacity building of various states, particularly at the district level. Because if we have to make this scheme successful, one district, one product, then the awareness has to reach at the district level. So that is one thing. Then apart from that, that synchronization between various schemes, because there are number of schemes at the central government level, there are some schemes at the state government level. So that synchronization also needs to be taken into consideration. So these are, I think, two important things that need to be taken with respect to the implementation of these schemes.
Okay, sir. Okay. I think two of the major issues which we have, recognized in our interactions with the exporters is the cost of credit and the tremendous risk when it comes to, exporting your products in the global market. So is there some way that the policy framework can help, exporters on these two issues?
One issue very important when we are talking about providing some incentives to exporters to reduce their inherent uh, uh, competitive disadvantage. One is that our schemes should be compatible with the WTO norms and obligations. In the past, we have seen that some of our schemes were challenged in the WTO by US, and then we also need to modify our scheme. So that is one thing. So in that reference, if we say regarding the reducing the cost of credit to companies, that if we provide direct incentive or interest subvention scheme or those kind of thing, they may foul play of WTO obligation. So the other way could be like the scheme which recently announced by the government of India, remission of duties and taxes on export products. Those kind of schemes which take cares about the non-productive expenses like taxes on fuel or transportation, etc. Those could help in at least mitigating some of the competitive disadvantage that our exporters are facing. So that is, of course, at the scheme part. But apart from that, because some major infrastructural issues or in terms of the transactional issues that Indian exporters are facing, which are uh, roughly 10 to 15% enhances their cost. So that also need to be taken care in the long term. And as I said, that some of these issues may not be directly in the ambit of foreign trade policy, but having a reference in the foreign trade policy may pave way for other relevant ministries or other relevant policies to take care of these aspects, like the conditions of roads or the traffics, or the higher cost of electricity. So these are some of the issues which are inherent and which our exporters are facing. So these need to be reduced in some way or other.
Okay. Okay. Sir, lastly, if we want to create a better synchronization between trade and investment policies, do you have any suggestions on that? So that we can, because there's a strong connect between trade and investment, which is seen in countries like Vietnam. So what do you suggest how we can better synchronize the two?
You are absolutely right. There is a great need to synchronization between investment and trade policy. And over the years, there is a greater realization in the policymakers about this synchronization. Now, going forward, we need to see the areas where we are attracting investment, where there is potential for attracting investment. And then we have to see that investment, whatever we are inviting here, that is essentially for domestic production, or that also has a component for export. Now, depending upon what kind of investment it is and what kind of production it is, we can have the export policies attuned to those kind of investment. Apart from that, because as I said, that there is a greater emphasis on linking with the global value chains. So those kind of investment or those kind of imports which will go, if there is an investment which is making some inputs in India, and then they are importing some inputs from outside, and the final product that foreign companies make in India, that is exported to outside. So we have to see that those imported items they have some preferential duties, because in effect they are helping us increasing our exports. We are adding the value, and whatever we are importing, more than that we are exporting. So that kind of synchronization also need to be think of, that what kind of investment we are having, and within that investment, that manufacturing that we are having, or particularly from the manufacturing sector I am talking about, what kind of imports we are having, and do we need to have some kind of rate adjustment for those kind of imports. In terms of services, we require better regulation, because in services the barriers or are in the form of regulations. So better regulations, transparency are the need of hour, particularly in those sectors where we think that we have competitive advantage, like I said, construction services sector, or personal, cultural, recreational services. Even in telecom services sector, we are increasing our competitive advantage. So we have to see that how we can attract for investment, and not only attracting for investment. In services sector, there is also a possibility of our investment going outside FDI. So many of our services providers, they are competent enough to invest in other countries, and then they can help in earning significant foreign revenue for us. So that is another aspect that we need to think, that how we promote our services exporters to go abroad, set up their branches or commercial operations there, provide services there, and earn foreign currency revenue for India. So these are some of the issues that need to be taken care of in the foreign trade policy.
Right. So basically, better synchronization between trade and investment, and looking to diversify the services exports. And we have to also, ensure that we have appropriately skilling our exporters to be prepared for the era which is coming in the coming years. Right. So
Yes,
thank you
actually,
so much. Yeah, so please, you say something.
It just not skilling. As I said, the mantra is SQS.
Right,
It is
right.
skilling, quality, and standards. All these three things. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful interaction today, and we look forward to talking again soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.